welcome back to JOJ. We hope that you all thoroughly enjoyed our kids last week. I think it's part of their, one of their favorite times of year is they know they get to take over and do a special Mother's Day and Father's Day episodes. This year we kind of, we actually made them do the JOJ part of it.
Right, yeah.
Like last year they just talked about us.
We want them to experience the real thing.
Yes, I was like, okay, for Mother's Day, you're opening, you got to talk about the word of the month. And so I think they did really well. So as the kids shared, the word of the month is honor. And I gave them a basic outline of honoring parents and, how to honor God and what they do in their choices. And they shared a lot of ways to dishonor us. Maybe it'll help them realize that they shouldn't do that.
Yeah, maybe it'll inspire them to do better.
Yes. And so for the next 3 weeks, I guess we've got 3 Sundays, we're going to kind of break down honor in 5 different ways. I hope that's right. Pretty sure it's 5.
That seems right.
And we're going to keep the same main Bible verse, but have several Bible verses through each episode.
Yep.
So do you want to do this?
Okay. Yep, I'll be glad to. So that
and define honor for us. I think the kids did, but
we'll do it again. Yep. So the definition of honor is honesty, fairness, or integrity in one's beliefs and actions. I think that's neat. That it's not only what you think, but it's also what you do. In your beliefs and actions. And then the verse is going to go along for the whole month is 1 Peter 2:17. It says, "Honor everyone, love the brotherhood, fear God, honor the emperor." So that's our verse for the month. And then, like Jennie said, we'll have several more, to go along with the 5 different ways that we're going to talk about honoring God today and every single day. So.
Yep. So the 2 specific ones we're going to talk about today are honor God with your time and honor God with your talents. So, you want to start with that? Or?
Okay, yeah. The question we've got on here is how are you using the precious time we've been given, to glorify God? And that's honoring God with our time. I'm going to say you picked, in my opinion, the hardest of the 5 to start with. I really feel that way. The time is what we all see that we have a limited resource of. That's something that doesn't matter what amount of money you make or anything else. You can't buy time. Nobody can. Parker would even say Elon Musk couldn't buy time. So, you just can't. So it is a very, very limited, the most limited resource we have in this world. Everything else we can earn more of or get more of or whatever, but time is something that we really can't. And to honor God with our time, the first thing that comes to my mind is putting him first, putting him in place of other things that we could say, well, let's not go to Sunday school today because we want to eat a big breakfast at home before we go. It's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's not. You're sacrificing something else.
And it kind of comes. I know, like a lot of people said, in the COVID years, it was habit because we couldn't go to church, so we were in our pajamas on the couch watching church. So you kind of just get in that habit of not being there and it not being a priority anymore.
Yeah, and you end up filling that time a lot of different ways. But I will say that's one thing I'm very proud of our church. I think our numbers are actually higher now than they were pre-COVID, so it's pretty awesome, and thankful for what God's doing in our church. So a couple verses here to share. We've got Psalms 144:4, and it's, "For they are like a breath of air, their days are like a passing shadow." I think that should be kind of a warning to us all. I mean, I think the they're referring to there is people, mankind, that we're like a breath of air. Their days like a passing shadow. It's here this minute, and it's gone the next.
Yep.
And then Isaiah 58 verses 13 and 14 says, "Keep the Sabbath day holy. Don't pursue your own interest on that day, but enjoy the Sabbath and speak of it with delight as the Lord's holy day. Honor the Sabbath in everything you do on that day, and don't follow your own desires or talk idly. Then the Lord will be your delight, and I will give you great honor. and satisfy you with the inheritance I promised to your ancestor Jacob. I, the Lord, have spoken. You want to share the last one there?
Yes. The last one is Colossians 4:5. Live wisely among those who are not believers and make the most of every opportunity.
Yeah. I look at that Isaiah verse, and it talks about, about the Sabbath day and keep it holy. In my job, a lot of times, unfortunately, we're fishing on a Sunday, whether that's a practice day or a travel day or a competition day or whatever it may be. A lot of those days end up falling. Our weeks stretch over 8 days. It could fall on 2 of them. It just depends on how the week is structured. But one thing that for me personally, what I always do on those, if it's a practice day or driving day, I am listening to church. That's the closest I can get to being there, is to have that play. And then if it's a day while we are there, of course we're having fishing church. We do have that every morning. It's not a real long service, but we do make a point, to have fishing church every Sunday that we're either in practice or competition. When we're out there on the road. So I think that's, we're doing the best we can given the situation that we're in. I chose this job and I knew that would be part of it, but I think we're still, I feel like we're making the Lord proud in what we're doing with that.
Yeah, I agree. And then, Colossians talks about, to live wisely among those who are not believers and make the most of every opportunity. So I think that kind of goes, not only are you honoring God with your time by pursuing Him, but also by taking every opportunity you can to lead people to Him as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's. I know that's a place where I don't make the most of every opportunity. I'm driving a rolling billboard going down the highway, and I have a lot of opportunities at gas stations to meet people.
And to not blow your horn.
Well, sometimes they need to carry along. Maybe I'm making the most of that opportunity. Maybe it's just not in a positive way like our children sometimes. But no, and I know that's a place where I miss opportunities. I know I do to be able to. I take advantage of some of them, but I miss some of them too. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah. And then the second one is to honor God with your talents. And I feel like we've done a pretty good job on that. I don't want to pat ourselves on the back, but
I feel like that's
I don't think that was ever a question of where your talent came from, or like it wasn't like we didn't have to realize that. I guess you should say. Absolutely,
and what you've got right here is that these are your God-given gifts and abilities. And that's certainly something that I know. I know my ability is from God. I know that He gave me a natural talent. He also gave me a desire to work at it. And that's something that I've definitely done over time. But I wouldn't enjoy working at it if He didn't give me a love for it. So not only did He give me enough natural talent to get me, get me where I was, right? Well, to get me, to get me something I love to do. I feel like that's two parts of it. People want to say, well, you should, if you just, that's a God-given talent. It is. It absolutely is. But It also gave me a love for it. That when you love something that much, you're going to work harder at it,
and be driven to go out in all the weather. And I'm fair weather. It needs to be nice, about 75.
Right. That's if it's 35 and snowing, then if the fish are biting and they say blast off, you kind of got to go.
Good luck.
And a story that goes along with that is in Matthew 25, and talking about the parable of the talents, and in this, the talents that it's referring to were actual money, but how the kingdom of heaven, being illustrated by a man going on a long trip, and he had different servants that worked for him. And with one he gave 5, one he gave, was it 3 or 2?
Are we going to read this?
No, I'm just kind of, the next one he gave 2 and one he gave 1. And how the one with 5 took it and produced 5 more. So when he returned, he had 10. The one with 2 took those and made 2 more with that. So when he returned, he had 4. But the one, he didn't do anything with his. He buried it in a hole in the ground and just make sure that it was safe.
Yeah.
and that, the servant or the master was not happy with that, with that servant, because they weren't a good steward of what God had given them. That they just took that one, sat on it, hoped for the best, and didn't turn out very well for that servant. So don't be like that guy. Take what God gave you. Take what He trusted you with. If it was a little, if it was a lot, and use it for Him.
So not only being a good steward of your talent, but to also be a good steward of your time.
Absolutely.
And so I think every second of the day is a bonus, basically, that we get to be here. So those, to kind of wrap it up, of honoring God with your time and with your talents. Next week we're going to talk about, I'm going to get my cheat sheet. It's on my last page. No, not on my last page. So next week we will talk about honoring God with your temple, and also honoring the Lord with your wealth.
Yep.
No, is that right?
That's right.
No, it's not. It's honor God with your wealth is treasure.
Yeah.
I like that better.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Honor God with your temple, and to honor God with your treasure.
All right.
So we'll talk about that next Sunday.
Sunday.
Yeah, but thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next week.
See you then.